is literally a video that I've been wanting to make for so long, and I've been trying so hard to get my thoughts together, but we are literally living through a TV show apocalypse. This is literally the end times as we know it for TV shows, and I just really feel like I have to talk about it. Hi guys, welcome back to Ella Pastoral. On this channel, I talk about all my favorite pieces of media, as well as talking about social issues from time to time. And the reason why you guys haven't been seeing a lot of me is that we are in a TV show apocalypse. I've been holding this feeling to myself for a while now, but I just can't help it. If you are somebody like me that is obsessed with watching all of the latest TV shows, you know exactly where this video is going. For the last, I want to say 10 years, we have actually been living in a TV show apocalypse. As a Netflix girly, as a Hulu girly, as a HBO Max girly, every time any of those big 3 major networks drops a TV show, I already have a sinking feeling of dread that hits me when these shows are announced. What is this place? I don't know. Let's check it out though. Shush. Everybody shush. Everybody shush. It seems as if somebody new has just stumbled upon our pastoral court. Hi there, stranger. My name is Ella Pastoral, and all of the lovely people that you see before you are a part of my esteemed court. From my squires who have early access to my videos, to my nobles who have special behind-the-scenes access, to my dukes and duchesses who are able to pick out topics for my videos, to my own special royal advisors who mean so much to me. All of these people make up the Ella Pastoral court. If you want to be like these lovely people and be a part of my esteemed court, go to Ella Pastoral on Patreon. But it seems as if you need to be on your way, traveler. Let's head back to the regularly scheduled content. I know, like time and time again, I'm going to fall in love with these shows. I'm going to read fanfics for these shows. I'm going to see fan art for these shows, only for these big 3 companies to hit me bang, bang, bang with never-ending disappointment. The first time I was ever severely disappointed by a TV network was when they canceled The Society. For all of the people that were watching The Society in high school like I was, you know how it felt for Netflix to cancel that TV show. For those who don't know, The Society was a TV show on Netflix about a group of kids who went on a field trip one day and accidentally got transported into an alternate reality timeline where they were separated from their parents and had to build up their own society with just teenagers. And this was a show that I was highly invested in. A lot of the shows that I'm going to talk about in this video are good serialized drama TV shows that the networks do not want to see win. At first, I thought that the cancellation of The Society was just a fluke, but ever since The Society was canceled, I really felt like it was a nexus point in our timeline. And ever since they canceled The Society, it's been banger after banger after banger being forcefully canceled. And I just feel like, damn, we're really in a TV show apocalypse, because when The Society was canceled, we were all pissed. I low-key thought that with all of the anger and vitriol that we were having, that we would eventually get The Society to have another season, but Netflix was like, nah, we are not going, we are not listening to y'all. And the landscape of TV has actually been a mess. Society hurt me, but I said, okay, maybe it didn't have enough ratings, maybe it was just a closed circle of people that I knew in my own personal life that were in love with the show. I don't know what's going behind the scenes, but it isn't just The Society. Another Netflix show that they canceled that broke my heart definitely had to be The OA. The OA was a TV show that also had a really good serialized plot, a lot of drama, a lot of mysteries. I was highly invested. That's one, unlike The Society TV show, had 3 seasons, and we just needed one final season in order to wrap things up, and they said no. And the thing about cancellation that makes me really upset is that because of the fact that it was canceled before its end, the idea of a possible ending still lingers in the air. And so a lot of these screenwriters, producers, creatives that work on the show, they hold their final ideation of what the finale could be with them in hopes that possibly there could be a spin-off, possibly they could get a renewal, and sometimes you get it, sometimes you don't. I still haven't heard any news of a Society reboot. I still haven't heard any news of the OA reboot. And in the age where we're having sequel after sequel and everything is getting a live action reboot, or we're getting a parts 4, 5, and 6, I'm looking at Hollywood as an industry and I'm begging them, instead of bringing back all of these beloved classic movies, how about you guys bring back these canceled TV shows that you guys threw in the basket before its time? I don't know if y'all watched the OA, but the OA was a masterpiece. It was a beautiful, gorgeous mystery that unveiled itself time and time again. And I know the story would have ended beautifully if they were just given an opportunity, but no. You know, I started this video talking about some of the old cancel shows that really hurt me. But if we're really looking around, the year of 2024 has been so bad for TV shows. Hi guys, so while I was thinking about the fact that we are in a TV apocalypse, I wanted to bring my friend Paris here so we can just talk about the current state of TV and what exactly is going on. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Paris. I have a degree in media and communication and I currently study film. Want to go into feminist film studies, so there's that.
So with all of that background, I feel like you're absolutely perfect for this video.
Yeah, well, Netflix specifically has had this module that I think is essentially, let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And that essentially comes back to the ideology that says we need more subscribers, right? This is a problem that the industry has been dealing with for the past, I would say, 5 to 10 years. 10 years is like really pushing it, but in the past 5 years, we've been really seeing it. And that is these streaming services that are extremely successful really want to tell their investors, we have what we promised you. But the thing is, on the business side, when you look at those numbers, those initial promises were essentially being pulled out of thin air. Right? So now we've come to a point where the investors are like, okay, we need those numbers, but these streaming services don't have them. Which brings me back to a recent article in The Guardian that said, we are faced with a lot of these competitive streaming services that saw Netflix, that saw its success and thought, we're going to make streaming services. And then they did that, but they were spending a lot of money and not getting the money that they wanted back out of that investment. And a lot of that, in my opinion, has to do with fan loyalty. You essentially don't have enough customer loyalty, which goes back to the experience that you're describing, which is, I don't have unlimited, infinite time in my life. So the TV show that I do want to watch, I want to make sure has deeply emotionally impactful storylines that I will be emotionally invested in. So unless a TV show gets the second season, a lot of people are not going to watch it, because one season, when it's not even supposed to be a mini series that's like a one-off, is a really risky investment for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
Why would I fall in love with a character if they're going to disappear within 6 episodes? When I can safely say that there are certain characters in TV that we grew up with. Could you imagine how long a TV show has to be on screen for me to say, oh yeah, I spent 10 years with Elena Gilbert? That is something that is absolutely not happening these days.
It's been so bad. If the TV show isn't getting canceled, it's getting rushed. And I'm going to talk about some of the worst examples of this. So, like I said, if you guys have been following Ella Pastoral for a long time, you guys know that I was in nursing school. So I really did not have time to lock in the way I wanted to in terms of all of the newest drops, right? So I said, let me graduate, let me do my NCLEX, let me start my job, and then I'll clock back in. But as soon as I blinked and closed my eyes, all of the newest TV shows that were on my list were gone. My Lady Jane. For those who don't know, I'm a huge historical girly. When it comes to historical TV shows, that is my bread and butter. Nobody loves historical TV shows like I do. When I saw that Amazon was going to adapt My Lady Jane into an Amazon original, I say bet. Give me a couple months, even give me 1 month, okay? Because I just needed to study for the NCLEX and I'll watch it. As soon as I closed my eyes and I even blinked for 2 seconds, they already canceled it. I and a bunch of other people were like, how can you cancel a show when it was just dropped? You're not even doing the due diligence of letting the show simmer, settle, and find its audience before you even cancel it. I know you don't even have the numbers yet, because sometimes it even takes us 1 month to find the show. But all of these new shows that be coming out, is not every day it's going to be, oh, Stranger Things blow up. You need to let it settle, but immediately they canceled it. So I didn't even get to watch My Lady Jane before it was canceled. Boom. I said, okay, My Lady Jane is an adaptation of a book. Maybe it's so niche, because historical dramas are very niche. Not every day it can be like Bridgerton, you know? And so I said, okay, I'll let that one slide. Let's talk about The Acolyte. I was going to make a whole video about this, but I was like, nah, let me bring it into a video about the TV show Apocalypse. Because the way they did The Acolyte was actual madness. The way they did The Acolyte was actual madness. Because guys, I would have have loved to watch The Acolyte when it was coming out, but like I said, I was fighting for my life. Studying. I needed to lock in. And I said, okay, it just finished. I'm about to watch it. As soon as I blinked my eyes, they already canceled it. And I just feel like all of these TV networks are not allowing these shows to simmer, to sit and find its audience before you canceled it. Because everybody knows the reputation of Star Wars fans. They won't even watch the show and they'll literally go to Rotten Tomatoes or Google reviews and hate bomb it before anybody gets to watch it. And I really think the negativity that came from those Star Wars fans really caused Disney to prematurely cancel the show. Because when I was looking at all of the femmes and non-binary folks on my timeline, they say they love this show, and even some other people are like, yeah, the show is good, we just need to let the story develop. But damn, it was already canceled.
You know, some people might say that this is reaching, that it's not that deep. It has to be said that Netflix has a certain pattern or habit when it comes to what shows they cancel. It's something that I had low-key picked up on before. At this point, so many of these shows have been canceled that they can't even hide it. And it's the fact that most of the shows that are canceled by Netflix are the ones that have LGBTQ plus representation. Think about shows like I Am Not Okay With This. Main character had a crush on sis right here, and that show was packed up after one season. And then there was The Society. With that, it was Sam and Grizz, and they left it off on a cliffhanger. Julie and the Phantoms, there was Alex, and it took them a whole year to cancel it, but they got it up out of there. Grand Army, it was them. Everything Sucks, it was these two. One Day at a Time, there was sis right here. Look, Fate the Winx Saga had this whole thing going on. The Sun and the Devil himself. There was Shadow and Bone, which out of all these shows had me the most surprised that it got canceled. At this point, I think y'all already know where I'm going. These two get together, then all of a sudden, season 2 is the last season. Remember this show? Romeo and Juliet between a vampire and a vampire hunter? They wrapped that one up after one season, and it broke records on the streaming service. And then last but not least, there's Sense8. I don't remember anybody and everybody. All the characters were together on this show. Mind you, there are LGBTQ plus shows that Netflix has actually allowed to continue or at least finish their story. And with The Boy Detectives being the most recent one, I just want to know, do y'all see what I see?
Well, the problem is we are changing the focus from what it was, which is a queer, diverse cast of women characters, to we are focusing on boys again. We want them to be superheroes because CW was sold off to a different company that is conservative, that doesn't like black people, that doesn't like queer characters, that wants to focus on quote-unquote family values, that wants to focus on TV shows with mainly male and white characters, which is interesting because last week we had a piece of literature published that said most of the hit TV shows right now on these streaming services such as Netflix are TV shows with with white male leads, right? Isn't that a really interesting contrast to the literature that was being published in 2019 and 2020, which told us that we had the most amount of diversity on our TV in American TV's history, but that the demand for more diversity was 500% more than what we got. So imagine that, the most amount of diverse characters in our TV to date, and yet the market demand was 500% higher than that. Could you imagine how idiotic this business model is? Because then you will publish literature like that, which is, I think, very controversial because people don't know how to read this information. You will say, all of these hit TV shows have white male leads, so of course this means that that's what people want to watch. But what they don't understand is that those are extremely curated and that they are designed to be number one. They are pushed that way. They are promoted that way. Which brings us back to, why don't you promote other things? Because they don't want to have those TV shows on those top 10 spots, right?
Yeah.
That to happen. So people can't really read that, and then the studios will see this literature and say, see, I told you. And as somebody who's studied film, I'm like, but that isn't the reality. The reality is, we know that if we have a diverse cast of characters, people will watch that TV show. This is what the literature is showing us, but you're telling me no, nobody's going to watch it. People, just America's racist, nobody's going to watch it. Like, what are you talking about? The box office, specifically in film, has proven to us that this is absolutely not the reality. Films that are made by Black people that have main Black characters will sell if they are promoted, because guess what? TV shows need to be promoted in order to sell. If they are not promoted, people are not going to know that they exist. So that's why we have like one-off big shots like Jordan Peele, but we don't have household names more than like 2 or 3 people. It's just like the token people, right? The problem is we need to diversify it beyond the point of tokenism, right? And that's kind of where the problem comes in with outdated modules such as the quadrant. Like, it's a promotional, you might have heard this term, the quadrant, which is a model that says if you want to promote something, you're going to have 4 key demographics. It's going to be men over the age of 25 and boys up until 18 years old, girls up until 18 years old, and women over 25. And the theory is you cannot promote the same thing to them because they don't watch the same thing. And the group that is the most difficult to promote to and to market is, of course, women over 25. Because women over 25 are boring. They don't want violence. They don't want to see blood. They don't care about superheroes. We don't like them. And it's kind of like, what are you talking about? That is absolutely an insane module that Hollywood takes very seriously. They really take it seriously. Different people will respond to different things.
And I definitely feel like it's show after show after show that they keep doing this too, and it's quite concerning to me. Like, your girl is very scared. Those were just examples of live action TV shows, but if you're an animated piece of work, oh no, you're actually cooked. As somebody who is an avid lover of cartoons and animated pieces of work, the way animated TV shows have been done in the last 2 years has been mind-boggling. First, it was very, very concerning about how a lot of these animated TV shows were being canceled. But like I said, we're in a TV show apocalypse. It isn't something that is specific to animated pieces of work. But when I started to notice that I couldn't find these same TV shows, these same animated pieces of work on these streaming platforms, that's when I got concerned. If you guys watched Infinity Train and know how HBO Max did Infinity Train, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Because what do you mean I can't legally stream these animated pieces of work on the network that owns it? I'm sorry, that is extremely concerning to me. So a lot of these big companies are forcing us to pirate work when they could, I don't know, keep it on their streaming platform and let us have the ability to watch it legally. But no, instead of that, these companies are turning us into Luffy in them. Make it make sense, guys. Make it make sense. I'm getting very scared. Inside Job was one of Netflix's newest animated piece of work that I really fell in love with. The lore was there, the plot was there, the characters were there, and we all fell in love with it. We've recently been giving Netflix a lot of flack for its animated department, I guess. Arcane, we're not talking about you, sweetie. You'll always be famous for me, right? But people were really looking at Netflix like, hey, you're spending all this money on Big Mouth and Big Mouth adjacent projects when good, juicy pieces of media like Inside Job are going to the back burner. And I low-key agreed with this take. Like I don't want to like agree with it, but like, yeah, Big Mouth is getting that money. Big Mouth really is getting that money. And I was like, okay, guys, you don't have to compare all of these pieces of work. They can all equally coexist. Netflix must have heard me say that nonsense and said, coexist, baby. We put an Inside Out on the back burner. And what really hurt my feelings about that is that the creator of Inside Job found out the same time we did on Twitter. Guys, imagine you find out that you don't have a job on Twitter the same time that everybody else did. And it was so sad because like the way the show was going, you could tell that it was going to be good. Like I wouldn't be so mad if shows got canceled and you could low-key tell that like the last episode was like low-key a finale episode. But when the plot is good and the plot is just picking up, that's when it really hurts my feelings, because it really just means that it's an end of an era. We don't know what's going to happen with the story, and because of the possibility of a possible reboot 10 years down in the line, the creators are not going to come out and explain how they would have ended their series if they had the opportunity. And that really gives me like a FOMO feeling, because I'm just like, damn. Because personally for me, I don't like to watch shows, especially new shows that I know end on a cliffhanger and they're not gonna get a new season, because that's gonna piss me off. That's why I didn't even watch My Lady Jane and or Acolyte, because I was already pissed off knowing that the story is going to be left up in the open because it got canceled. That's just a personal Ella Pastoral quirk, but I'm just like, guys, we're living in a TV show apocalypse, and I feel like if the show isn't getting canceled, a lot of the time, especially if it's an animated piece of work, it's not giving the time that is needed. I'm going to specifically talk about Arcane. I'm making several videos on Arcane. Y'all just have to let me cook a little bit. But the way season 2 of Arcane was done, it definitely needed more episodes. I know, because I can already see in the comments, Arcane is expensive, Arcane is this, Arcane is that. But episodes 7, 8, and 9 were so rushed. Character arcs were completely forgotten. It was a mess. And I really feel like it's because we as a people do not respect animation. Because I definitely believe that if Arcane was a live action show with its popularity, we would have had a more expansive ending. Episode 1 to episode 7 had their pacing issues, but they were good. But I'm telling you, 8 to 9 specifically, I was like, what the heck is going on? I watched it with my friend. I was like, and literally for 2 hours, I literally was looking at them like, huh? What? Huh? And I could only thank God that they know the League of Legends lore, or else we would have been mad confused. But guys, we're literally in a TV show apocalypse. I don't know what to tell you. And I definitely feel like the reason why I feel so empty in terms of the TV shows is because of capitalism. I know, here I go. Y'all gonna be like, oh, she reaching, but I definitely feel like it's capitalism. I feel like these big streaming services, but specifically Netflix, because Netflix is notorious for this, they look at these TV shows like, hey, if you don't immediately make back all the money that we put into you, you're worthless.
I don't think we're imaginative enough when we have the conversation about anti-intellectualism in TV and movies. We are not accounting for how much of this is related to who and why people are having to fight for time when consuming media. Yes, there's a very concentrated effort to make people abandon critical thinking as they watch, to say that this is just a color, that's just a line of dialogue, this plot point means nothing. But there also has to be a general acknowledgement of how things are functioning, vastly different than it was in what would be considered the Renaissance of television. One, I do think it's a bit unfair that people keep weighing adaptations against original content, just because adaptations are coming from very enriched worlds already. And so to state that writers who are using original content should be able to pull from this wealth of knowledge when they are likely having some revolving door of writers, that there can be a shift in showrunners, a shift in studios even who are managing shows and networks, it's a bit odd. People keep saying things like, you wouldn't see a Game of Thrones in 2024. It's like, Game of Thrones was not original content from HBO. That is an adaptation. Like, a man wrote a series of books that detailed a very large world that he spent years creating. The Hunger Games is a great example. We're gonna keep getting movies because Suzanne Collins keeps writing books to support the movies, because the first time she wrote a trilogy that built out and supported a large world. When we had that dystopian YA renaissance of movies, that's because worlds were being built out. Harry Potter movies, a world had been built out. That can't be weighed appropriately against original content at this point, I don't think. And even if we were to put adaptations versus fully original content to the side, I think people are not weighing on the fact that execs know, that media companies know that they are competing for even less of your time than their predecessors were. This is not network TV. Streamability, in part, is about convenience for a lot of people. It's the fact that you can watch your shows on the go. And part of the reason you want to watch your shows on the go is because when you get home, you don't have time. Capitalism is robbing more of your time than it ever has. That's not me talking out of a hat. Like, we know you have less time, free time, than our parents did, than our ancestors did. We have the least free time than the last 4 generations did. You don't have time to sit and watch a show, so you're watching it on your lunch break. You're watching it at your son's soccer game. You're watching it in between laundry. These shows are being made to be background fodder, and so they're not made to keep you intellectually engaged to some degree, because you can't afford to have to sit down, and they know that. My Lady Jane got canceled in 2 months. It premiered in June. I was just about to come on here and talk about it, damn near market it. I loved it so much. Was going to talk about my fan theories, and then it got canceled by Prime. And they said it got canceled because it didn't break the top 10 stream shows by Nielsen Research. 2 months. That's not even an appropriate time to market to your target audience. And it got canceled because in the streaming world, in the streaming market, it's about the fact that we live in a binging society. We all talk about wanting back the 24 episode structure, 20 episode structure, and getting rid of these 8 to 10 episodes. But guess what? You know what you can't do? You can't binge 20 episodes between now and when you clock into work the next time. You can't binge 20 episodes in between your kids' naps. We have to think about this past what just looks like media. We have to think about this as it relates to these larger systems. They are competing with the time they know you don't have to extend toward these shows. You cannot get a Sopranos in 2024 because you do not have time to sit in Tony and his family's drama, giving it your full attention when you have to be here for your own family. When you have 45 minutes between now and picking up Junior at soccer practice, and then when he gets back from soccer practice, you have to start making dinner, and then Lucy gets up from a nap. You don't have time. But you'll have time for the 8-hour limited series that we're dropping next week that you can binge overnight while the twins are asleep. That's part of it as well. They cannot make shows that are too complex because they're only giving you 8 to 10 hours of it. And they're only giving you 8 to 10 hours of it because it increases its streamability. It increases the likelihood of you being willing to watch. The amount of people I know who are like, I can't watch the show. It has too many episodes. I can't afford to buy into that right now. I don't have the time. I hear that all the time from working class friends. I don't have the time. You think execs don't know that? We got to think about this bigger, people. But I understand the want for critical engagement and acknowledgement of shows because that's what I loved. I loved the renaissance of TV. I loved shows like Scandal, How to Get Away with Murder. I loved shows like The Sopranos. I love all of these shows that made you, in Breaking Bad, that endeared you to people long term and didn't always give you buyout and pulled at you for ages. But it's just not the climate for it anymore. And so they're watering down your media so that you're more likely to consume it in a shorter amount of time because they know that they have less time to get to you. And that's the reality.
And I just feel like that's so unfair because not everything can be a Stranger Things. Not everything can be a Love Island. And I just feel like that's why animation and all of these smaller TV shows are also not treated well. Netflix, you don't be promoting your shows and then get confused why they don't blow up. Some of these shows, if it wasn't for fandom culture, but specifically TikTok fandom culture, I wouldn't even know about it.
When somebody tells me, oh yeah, Wheel of Time season 3 is coming out, I'm like, wait a second, what? Because I thought it was gone in series 1 and I didn't see any kind of marketing, which comes back to the idea of the way that these studios and the streaming services market has changed drastically to the point where unless your algorithm is specifically designed for that TV show, you're not going to discover new TV shows and you're not going to be aware of the TV shows that are being renewed. So there are multiple TV shows such as Wheel of Time that are going through their 4th season, 5th season, 6th season that I used to watch, but that I don't anymore and that I'm not even aware of them continuing. Because this comes back to that idea of customer loyalty, fan loyalty. If you're deeply concerned with a character, if you're deeply touched by them, by a character, for instance, like Elena Gilbert, right? Oh my God, I dislike this character so much, but let's keep that in mind, right? It's a popular TV show. A lot of girls can relate. You're going to think, what is Elena Gilbert doing? And you're going to want to keep track of that. You're going to want to come back. But if you don't have the same emotional relationship with a character, you're not going to come back and check what is happening on The Great right now. That is not a genre that works for me specifically, but it is something that a lot of people love and enjoy. And you can see a lot of these TV shows like The Great make it to like the 3rd season. And a lot of people don't know. So I'm like, why is that the TV shows that are succeeding, we don't really hear about it? That's because the marketing has become so specific and so tuned in that it's not really designed to get out of that space. It also really depends on the space that you live in, because for instance, in Montreal, which is where I went to university, you cannot get out of your house without interacting with art and culture. You will see ads for TV shows, for films, but most of all, you will see ads for like museums and things like that, right? The same is really not happening in bigger areas today with these TV shows, unless the TV shows in question are like big budget HBO shows like House of a Dragon.
And I honestly feel like that is such a shame, because if you're going to spend this money to film, hire all these people, get these writers, for you to kind of fall flat in the final acts, which is the promotion, is so disappointing. As a YouTuber, that's the one thing that you learn. Like, if you're going to do all of this work, filming, editing, doing this and that, and spend 2 seconds working on the thumbnail and title, you've already lost. It'd be Netflix specifically, but it's also a bunch of other big mega corporations. And I just honestly feel like it's like what's that word called? Like a tax write-off. Because one of the most irritating things that have happened in the TV landscape, it's not even TV, but I still consider it TV because it's HBO. But didn't they film and edit the entirety of like Batgirl or Catgirl, the movie? And they're like, nah, y'all don't want to see it. And then they just wrote it off as a tax write-off.
Yeah, that is absolutely insane to me as well. And that is such a good comparison, because streaming services such as Netflix are exactly like YouTube, where the point of reference is that thumbnail, you know?
Yeah.
And of course, streaming services such as Netflix, depending on who you are and the data that they have collected on you, will show you different TV shows with different posters, right? That is like the first point of reference where you have to earn that click. So if you don't earn that click on a platform such as YouTube or such as Netflix, you have already lost, right? You have to get the click. But the thing is, these TV shows used to have a really large budget for promotion, and we don't really have enough data on this for this year yet, but there seems to be less and less money spent on promotion. And there are certain moments in history where I look back and I'm like, okay, they really fumbled this specific thing, and this specific thing really was not promoted. We experienced this with First Kill, because they were just like not talking about it like anywhere. But the moment that you have, and this is a really interesting comparison within the LGBT community media that we have, if the main characters are white teen or white young boys that are queer, Netflix will go out of its way to promote it. But if suddenly you change the race of one of the boys and one of them is, let's say, black, you will not see the same amount of promotion. Now, if the couple is sapphic, you will not see the same amount of promotion. And this is really interesting, because there is a lot to be said about the way that white straight women specifically behave around gay men and behave around gay male media. This specific type of media, I'm talking about like your Love Victors, your Heartstoppers, right? These types of medias are greatly consumed by a straight white woman audience, which is so interesting when you think about it. Like, what is happening there? What is going on? But that is something that has been happening, and the same audience had a completely different and opposite reaction to a TV show about a interracial sapphic fantasy, which is First Kill, right? There was a black girl and there was a white girl, and they were sapphic, and it was a classic teen vampire drama.
Yeah, this one should have gone mega super viral.
It like, oh my god, are you kidding me? There is a black girl on a fantasy TV going through the same emotional arc of enemies to lovers with a vampire, like a hunter and a vampire family beefing. This should have been TVD level promotion.
Yeah.
But there was nothing. Just like zilch, nothing. To the point that I remember this because I was on Twitter at the time and I was kind of looking and seeing what is happening because I was really interested in this TV show. And the reaction was very interesting because on the one end, we had a lot of straight women just like randomly saying, I hate this TV show. And a lot of people in the queer community saying, what are you talking about? This is like the best, cutest, quirkiest thing that's ever happened. And of course, there was a fan uproar when they realized that Netflix at the same time was promoting the gay male TV shows, but not the sapphic one. So they started shaming Netflix until they started like to put maybe like a couple tweets out of this TV show is streaming. And guess what? We need to bring public shaming back.
Yeah.
We need to bring shaming back because these studios need to be shamed. Public shaming works.
Netflix was just put on blast in this article that came out recently and has been making the rounds over the last few days. And when I say this is a dense article, like this is dense. There are asinine quotes from like executives who used to work there and writers and stuff that just, it doesn't leave much to the imagination. One of my favorites being in the context of the cost plus model replacing residuals. This quote from an officer who recalled a 2014 conversation that he had with a studio executive about streaming. His response was, I don't pay my plumber every time I flush my toilet. But the quote that really caught my eye that made me want to make this video in the first place is this one here. Basically saying that several screenwriters who have worked for the streamer have gotten notes from company executives saying that they need to have their characters announce what they're doing so that viewers who have this program on in the background can follow along better. I'm sorry, what? You want writers now to make their characters announce what they're doing when they come on screen just in case viewers are busy doing something else? Not gonna lie, pretty weird, kind of a weird thing to do. First of all, casual viewing is not a new concept. Like having the TV on in the background while you're doing something is not a problem that needs to be fixed. It's called ambiance. Also, since when does Netflix cater to an audience? Like, truly. What, I'm supposed to believe now that Netflix cares if I'm following the plot or not? No, Netflix cares about impressing its shareholders with data. Remember, Netflix isn't a studio, it is a data company using content as bait. So how does it serve Netflix to have this push for expository dialogue all of a sudden? This has to serve a purpose towards their bottom line in some capacity, and that's when it clicked for me. My personal theory is this has to do with AI training data. AI tools require a massive amount of structured, detailed data in order to generate or replicate content. Naturally, scripts are an ideal data set for this because they include things like scene descriptions and dialogue and context. However, using full scripts to train AI is kind of legally complicated, and by that I mean illegal. The catch here is that closed captions occupy this legal gray area when it comes to AI training data. Because captions are tied to the final video product, oftentimes they are considered derivative works and not always subject to the same protections. That doesn't make captions like a free-for-all, it just makes them a safer, more accessible data set for training AI. The problem that AI models have been running into is that traditional captions primarily only contain dialogue, like omitting scene descriptions, visual context, and other critical details that these AI tools would need. Now, I wonder how you could solve that problem and still doing it in an accessible way that doesn't mean you have to talk to the WGA because you know that they just want to take you to court right now and your investors are not happy. What if you could solve that problem by encouraging writers to embed those scene descriptions directly into the dialogue? Wink, wink. I'm not good at winking. Do you see the alleged potential problem here? Like, I want to tread carefully here, but like, I'm just so tired of nobody talking about this stuff. Like, Hollywood does not, we all talk past each other and nobody talks about any of the implications of this.
If you're not able to immediately make a quick buck and you don't blow up and become the newest, hottest thing, you're gonna be put in the back burner and canceled. Like, there was this animated TV show that I was watching. I'm gonna put the title here. And honestly, that makes me feel so sad because if you are not able to immediately become the newest, hottest thing, then Netflix, Hulu, all of these big major streaming services, they look at you like you're useless. And I just feel like this isn't what it used to be. I really feel like streaming has caused a lot of shows to not be able to live and thrive and get a footing, because I definitely thought that we as the public agreed that it usually takes shows 1 to 2 seasons to really get a foothold, know their voice, know where they're going in order to really blossom into something good. I think it was the actress from Scandal who herself said that Scandal could never be made in today's TV landscape because we don't allow shows to cook.
Do you think Scandal could happen today?
No. No.
100%
devastated. I'll tell you for so many reasons. First of all, there hadn't been a Black woman as the lead of a network drama in almost 40 years. I was in my early 30s at the time, so it hadn't happened in my lifetime. I hadn't seen it. And everybody called it a risk. The studio thought it was a risk. The network thought it was a risk. Everybody was proud of ABC Disney for taking this risk. We've talked about how the environment right now is so risk averse. So I don't know that it would have been greenlit with me, with a Black woman at the center. And it wasn't the first idea. I mean, Shonda Rhimes has talked about this publicly. When they first read the script, the executives were like, this is a great role for Connie Britton. And I love Connie, you guys be nice. I love Connie, but the show was inspired by a real woman named Judy Smith, who's a Black woman. If it hadn't been inspired by a real woman who is a Black woman, then everybody would have said, let's make her white. They didn't have the option to say that. Right?
And we all love Scandal. You know how many times there are Scandal clips on my own For You page? Y'all think in this day and age we could get a Grey's Anatomy with 22? I think I'm gassing it. But like 12 plus seasons? God forbid. God forbid we'll never get that. We'll never get that. Because these TV networks be like cancel. We definitely have to let these TV shows cook.
Which brings me back to your question of essentially the way to fix this is to get those business people out of those rooms. Because if you don't understand the way the industry behaves, a Wall Street guy that's like a money guy is never going to be able to understand how this industry works. You need actual real life academics whose work is film, whose work is TV, whose experience is in TV. You need those people making decisions, but they're often not. Often there's a great problem with nepotism with an elitist group of rich white people who own these studios, who don't like queer people, who don't like people of color, who will push their own agenda. This is why we have to go out of our way when we see studios such as HBO hire Black actors that are like 19, 20 years old, and then we see the audience of these conservative companies then mistreat these actors, right? I'm talking about Bethany Antonia.
Yeah.
And the studio doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
Act like it's not happening. It's not a thing that exists in America anymore. My guy, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
What are you talking about, right? They just want to act like it doesn't exist. It is not happening. They don't want to address it at all because you're not industry people. You are just random rich people that are making extremely important decisions for art, for film and TV, and you're steering this ship. And we are all here in the background like, your business model is bad. If there is a demand for 500% more diverse characters in TV, you are not being a good capitalist, my guy. That's not what capitalism says. Capitalism says, give the market what the market wants. The market says, I want Black actors, I want Asian actors, I want queer characters, I want them, give them to me. But the studios are saying, no, the quadrant says that people are not going to watch that. Only Black people will watch Black characters, and like, that's just 14% of the population. We don't really want to do that. And then they will publish literature that says, well, look, the top 10 TV shows all have male main leads that are white and straight. So I'm right. And it's like, you spent 20 years promoting that TV show. What are you talking about? What are you actually talking about? So you have to get these people out of those rooms and tell them, my guy, if you want to make money, if this is because, let's be real, it is about money. But if you actually want to make money, maybe hire people that understand how the industry works rather than just telling us this is how it works. If there are Black characters, only Black people are going to watch it, which you and I know is just not reality. The literature is telling us this is not true, right? So if you take these people out of the equation and put actual academics and put actual people within the industry who know what they're talking about, who know how the industry works, you're going to have a completely different result. This is problem number one on the business side, right? The other problem is the episodic model. TV shows do not have enough breathing room and they do not have enough time to gain traction. So when you're canceling a TV show in the first season, people are just not going to watch it. When you are coming out like in the past 10 years with maybe like 2 miniseries, sure, people are going to watch it. But if within the same year you come out with like 30 miniseries, nobody's going to watch it. It's too many. It's just you're oversaturating the market, and it's just not good enough. Which is interesting. The data isn't out for 2024 yet, but since 2021, we have been seeing a steady decline in the number of TV shows being made in America. So the number of scripted TV shows in 2021 started declining from some 600 TV shows all the way down to only 415 in 2023. In 2024, there is an idea that it's going to be probably less than what it was in 2023. We don't have the data out yet, but predicting that it's going to be even less than those 400 something, 413, something like this in 2023. It's going to be even less than that. So if we have less TV shows, then surely the market is not actually oversaturated, because there is this idea that the market is oversaturated. But if there are less TV shows being made, how is that possible? Well, that is not logical, right? It is just the numbers don't add up. If we are making less TV shows, then this shouldn't be a problem of oversaturation. What this problem is, though, is a problem of the audience not being loyal to these streaming services, because these streaming services are not loyal to the audience. So people are not going to watch TV shows unless they know there's going to be a second or third season. People will probably start watching them in season 3 when they have like a few episodes to watch. And people will forget that certain TV shows, such as The Wheel of Time, has more seasons because there's such a huge time between seasons. Because if you think back to services such as the CW, I should remind you that those used to pop out seasons really quickly. So you had TV shows that were like 24 episodes. They were running the entire year. We would have 8 weeks off, and then we would have 6 weeks off, and then we would come right back. So you're having 2 seasons in the span of like a year and a half. That's how fast TV used to work. And of course, those are not ideal working conditions. However, having 1 season per year seems like a good way to start. But that is not what's happening. What's happening is that we often have 2 to 3 years between TV shows, and sometimes it can even take longer. So by the time that it is time for us to watch the second series, which is, this is something that happened to me with Loki, and you sit down to watch that second season, you have no idea what is going on.
Yeah.
So if you want to go back into it, you have to binge the entire backlog of episodes again. And people don't have the time to do that. People don't have the motivation to do that. So this is just not a good model.
And that's why I really feel like if you're going to do this, then you need to make a very cute 1-season story and wrap it up, because they keep doing us as fans so dirty. That's why I love to go to international markets to find TV shows.
And of course, this brings us to the episodic model, which releases all of the episodes at once. This used to work for Netflix really well because people loved binging TV that was high quality. But that wasn't the time that Netflix wanted to establish itself as a prestigious studio. And so they were doing things like House of Cards, right? They wanted that prestige. So because of that prestige, it was very bingeable. But now the model is, like I said in the beginning, is let's throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. So when you're doing that, the quality of the writing is not going to be that great. The quality of the production is not going to be that great. Yes, the quality of production has shifted in the past 5 years. We are very elevated now. The acting is great. The camera movement is great. The lenses are great. The direction is great. Mise-en-scène is great. But narrative-wise, we are facing a lot of issues. So to just wrap up this first thought, we need to go back to episodic, like weekly releases rather than releasing the entire series in one go, because people will forget you exist. This is something that Disney is adapting really well. You can see with things like their shows like Agatha All Along, 1 episode per week is gonna work much better because people are gonna watch it in their own time, then they're gonna talk about it to their friends, then they're gonna search it online, then they're gonna consume media on it, like analysis, like reviews, things like that, talk about it, have discourse, and then they're gonna watch the second episode. So by the time they get to the other episode, there's already that much interaction, around that fandom. So more and more people will come and watch these TV shows as it is airing. But this is why you need to remember the importance of TV shows making it to season 5 and 6. Because when Game of Thrones season 1 was coming out, who was watching it? Not a lot of people. Not a lot. But by the time that we were around season 3, everyone was watching. By the time we were finishing Game of Thrones, it was having like 20 million people tuning in for every episode, right? Because you've had 10 years of building this audience week after week after week. So this is the model that Netflix needs to adapt, and they started to, because I think they had a moment with what is that TV show, the Neil Gaiman TV show, Sandman. They had this realization with Sandman, which I made a comment under one of their videos, and it got like, I don't know, 200,000 likes, because I made the analysis that this is not working because there is too much information in every single episode, because every single episode is based on a different comic, different part of the Sandman comics that are contained short stories, right? You cannot give people essentially a mini film and have like 6 of them and let people binge it and then say, but not enough people are watching. You need to give them time to digest the first episode before they go into the second one. So then at like that moment was kind of like a light bulb for them, and then they started to cut up seasons. So now you will see things, for instance, like Bridgerton coming out with part 1 of this season and then part 2 of this season. So they're kind of splitting it so that you have more time to get like 4 episodes, 5 episodes. There are other streaming services, for instance, like Prime, that are doing this, but what Prime is doing is quite clever, and I really like that. Apple TV did this as well, which is they will do like the first 3 episodes and then weekly releases after that. So the episodes are very good to like get you hooked. And Apple TV and Amazon, they started doing this at the same time. I can't quite track it accurately, but they were doing it around the same time, where you got 3 episodes and then you got weekly releases after that. This is working really well for them. This is working really well for Disney. A lot of people watched Agatha. A lot of people are watching those Marvel adaptations, and it is, working for them. The same is not working for Netflix because it is a binge module, and that binge module is not working. Because think back to Game of Thrones, think back to Breaking Bad, think back to 24, think back to Prison Break. These are mega hits. They became mega hits in season 3. They weren't mega hits in season 1. It took them a minute to pick up. So not only do you need to give them the breathing room for like 3 seasons for people to even hear about it, but you need to release 1 episode per week, right? This is just the model things that the studio can do to change the way that TV is being made.
And that's why personally for me, I like to watch TV shows that I know have at least 2 to 3 seasons, because damn, even if they do cancel it or I find out it was canceled, at least I had time, I had a lot of time to develop with these characters, grow with these characters, instead of being consistently disappointed. And that's why in 2025 you're gonna definitely see me watching a lot of nostalgic pieces of media. K-dramas don't do me like this. C-dramas would never do me like this. But when it comes to American TV shows, victim, they gonna do me so dirty. I'm way less likely to be disappointed if I know you got some meat behind you. And yeah, let me know if you've noticed that we've been in a TV show apocalypse, because it's been bad, guys. It's been bad. Let me know what TV shows you guys are watching that haven't been canceled yet. I am definitely on my way to 20K. So if you want to support me on that journey, please make sure that you like this video, share this video with your friends, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.